Starting our list off at number 10 is the truck angel. A man in Michigan was sure he saw an angel after receiving a photo of what appeared to be one floating above his truck. Glenn Thorman claimed his motion-censored camera snapped the picture, which he then immediately sent to his wife and pastor of his church. Speaking with a local news station, Thorman explained and he said, "That's an angel." And I was just blown away. I couldn't wait to send it to my wife and send it to Pastor Daniil Mose. I said I got an angel and my camera took a picture of an angel. Mo spoke with the outlet as well, telling them I went like, whoa, and I texted him back, "That's an angel." There wasn't any doubt in my mind that we were looking at something supernatural. With that being said, others thought they may have an explanation for the phenomena, with Joe Clark of Glass Lake Photography claiming it could just be a moth. LOL. It definitely does look moth-shaped in the first photo, I'm not gonna lie. You can kind of clearly see what it looks like, or it could be interpreted as wings and a head, but at the same time, since it's not clearly in focus, and since it is what it is, there may be room for interpretation. We don't know.
Now at number 9, Angel in the Skies. A man named Lee Howittle was walking in Peak District National Park in England when he caught something on his camera that many are speculating could be more than just a weather phenomenon. Being a photographer, it's likely he went out with the intention of snapping some interesting photos, but he got more than he could have ever imagined. Explaining what happened, he told a local news outlet, I quote, "My shadow looked huge. It was in the circular rainbow. Took some photos of it and carried on walking. It was like an angel in the sky over the hills. It was quite magical." According to the UK's Met Office, this is known as a Brock Inspector or Mountain Inspector and is listed in the top 10 spookiest weather conditions. The Met's website explains this effect is produced when an observer stands above the upper surface of a cloud on a mountain or high ground with the sun behind them. When they view their shadow, the light is reflected back in such a way that a spooky circular glory appears around the point directly opposite the sun. As always, people try to come up with logical explanations for illogical situations, and it seems that this could be a case of that. Although there is a scientific explanation, I don't know. I think maybe we're just trying to make ourselves believe it's science when maybe it's something more.
At number 8 we have answered prayers. A 48-year-old evangelical minister in Charleston, West Virginia woke up in the middle of the night and felt the need to pray. Upon doing so, he claims a literal sign from God came to him in the form of an angel. On August 4th, 2013, around 3:46 a.m, you can see what appears to be an angelic-like figure appear on Charles Shelton's security cameras. As per the Daily Mail, the light appeared outside and passed into Shelton's living room twice, fluttering like it had wings. Shelton explained he's seen angels on 2 previous occasions, but this time round didn't tell anyone until he realized he had to. "I was astonished. The Lord revealed to me that this was his angel and his presence." Praying for his neighborhood and those affected with addiction, Shelton is a believer this sign was enough to show everyone that no matter what's happening, it's for a good reason. Crime has been growing for a long time. You hear about shootings, killings, and vandalism. When somebody sees angels, why can't we just let people know? God's presence is in the neighborhood. No wonder how rough it may get, God is still in the midst. I don't care what critics say, I know what happened. I trust you, Shelton, but I wasn't there, so I'm not gonna completely trust you.
On to number 7, Bruce Van Natta. The man was once a diesel mechanic who worked on those big heavy trucks, you know, those transport trucks with 18 wheels, those bad boys. Unfortunately, one day while working on a truck and winding down for the day, the driver of the truck asked Bruce to check one more thing. What should have been a routine check ended up with Bruce being crushed by the truck after one of the jacks holding up the front of the truck gave in. Bruce was under the truck feet first, meaning the lower half of his torso was literally being crushed. This led to him having an out-of-body experience where Bruce saw not only himself and the driver who was trying to lift the truck, but 2 angelic-like figures on each side of his body. He went on to explain 2 voices in his head were telling him conflicting things. One to just close your eyes and relax and you'll go to heaven. The other was telling him to fight if he wanted to live, but it would be no easy task. Bruce would end up making it to hospital and recovering, even though he was told his abdomen was crushed and he only had a year to live. Now he's sharing his story with the world. He wrote a book about his experience and started a website trying to enlighten the rest of the world about his out-of-body experience and his experience with angels.
Filling in number 6 slot is the Pink Angel. In 2013, following the new Pope's first appearance at the Vatican, a pink-like angelic figure was seen in the skies of Florida. As you can imagine, people were split in regards to what caused the angelic-like cloud to form, as some genuinely believed it was a sign, and others were quick to dismiss the idea it was related to religion at all. One woman told a local outlet, "Simply amazing. God bless our new Pope. May the Holy Spirit and all the angels and saints be with us all through this time of transition within the Holy Church." While another skeptic man asked, why do people always have to look for religion in everything? Considering how the angel-looking cloud formed just hours after the new Pope greeted everyone, I understand why people thought it could have been a sign, even if the cloud formed on the other side of the world.
Halfway at 5, Aaron Potter. First diagnosed with leukemia in 2007, life was incredibly tough for young Potter. After beating cancer twice, it came back a third time, and this required Aaron to receive a second bone marrow transplant. Just days before she underwent surgery, Aaron was outside playing with sparklers, and her mother Jen took a photo. While looking through the photos, Jen noticed a figure behind Aaron who Jen believes resembles Mother Mary. After Aaron's successful surgery, she would be cancer-free, and Jen, along with her husband Kevin, genuinely believed there was some kind of divine intervention that saved their little girl. Regardless of what it was, I'm just happy that Aaron is healthy and wish her all the best.
Now number 4 is The Angel on the Plane. This story here is about a 7-year-old boy named Asher who loves to snap photos on his mother's phone. On a flight back from visiting his older brother, Asher, while sitting on a plane waiting to take off, decided he wanted to take some pictures. As the plane started to take off, there was significant turbulence which made Asher incredibly uncomfortable, prompting his mother to give him the phone to snap some pictures. Thinking it would be a pretty good distraction, Asher started taking the photos, and his mom eventually got the phone back and started to go through them and delete them as she usually does. However, she stumbled upon one photo in which she saw what appears to be an angel. In fact, she believes it was Asher's guardian angel looking over him, and although she admits she'll never know for sure what it was, she believes it happened for a reason.
On to number 3, Sports Angel. On November 7th, 2009, Doug Bluatter was supposed to coach a youth football game, and his son Kyle was going to be the assistant coach. Unfortunately, on the way to the game, Kyle would be involved in a fatal accident. However, following the game, a man would take a photo of his grandson and teammate, which would later make the local news. An image of a white figure appeared to be beside the two boys in the field, and after seeing the story about the photo, Doug, his family, and many others believe that Kyle did end up making his way to the game. Although he understands why people would dismiss the idea that it is Kyle in the form of an angel being seen in the photo, he's firm in his belief that it was the sign he was asking for and doesn't feel the need to question it any further.
Filling our number 2 slot is Chelsea Banton. Born 5 weeks prematurely, Chelsea unfortunately grew up with numerous developmental disabilities and was in and out of the hospital for most of her youth. At age 14, she was hospitalized with pneumonia, and it appeared that Chelsea didn't have much longer. Having to make an incredibly heartbreaking and tough decision, her mother decided she wanted the doctors to pull the plug, keeping Chelsea alive, claiming it would be unfair and selfish to have her go on living the way she was living. However, it seemed someone or something had other plans, as Chelsea remained in stable condition even hours after the plug was pulled. While nurses looked at the monitor outside of her room, they saw what appeared to be a figure, but when they went to the door, they saw nothing. Other hospital staff and even Chelsea's mum saw the figure on the screen, but nothing in person. Remarkably, Chelsea would make a complete recovery, and many claim it was an angel who saved her life and who appeared on screen. Unfortunately, Chelsea did end up passing away at just 21 years old on November 28, 2015, but will forever be known as Chelsea Angel Girl Banton.
At number 1, Angel Clouds. A man in South Carolina couldn't believe what he was seeing and immediately started to film what he believed was an angel in the sky. On October 20th, 2016, Corey Huron filmed a cloud which appeared to be in the shape of an angel, and he claims it was definitely a sign from up above. During a time in which he was questioning his spirituality, Corey claims this was a direct message for him to keep the faith, telling CNN the wind didn't seem to disturb it and it remained in the same place for 15 to 20 minutes. At the time of this recording, the video has been shared over 300,000 times, and Corey also received tons of messages from people all over the world thanking him for sharing the video. He told CNN, "It's just a blessing what an uplift this has been for so many people."
Starting off this countdown, we have the deadly snake attack. This next story was shared by the Reddit user Light Energy. So when he was in his 20s, he spent 4 years traveling the world. Well, that's nice. I wish I could do something like that, but we won't be traveling for a long time. Anyways, he was in South Africa when him and his friend went to a waterfall. They had finished swimming and he went to go sit on a patch of grass. He was walking over to the patch of grass when he lifted his foot to step over the log. As he did this, a very loud, booming, manly voice yelled, "Stop!" He stopped and retracted his foot. And good thing that he did, because right down on the other side of the log, there was a black mamba snake. They are highly venomous. Believe me, you don't want to mess around with those. Had he stepped down, he surely would have been attacked by the snake. So that voice that told him to stop may have been his guardian angel, warning him about the danger. Coming in at number 9, we have the caregiver. And if you guys are liking this video so far, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up because it really helps us out here. So according to this next person, they encountered a guardian angel when they were rushed into the emergency room. He was feeling super sick and had an insanely high fever. That night, he was being cared for by a woman named Angela. She held his hand and stayed by his side the entire night. The next morning, he went to the nurse's station to thank her, but the nurses said no one by the name of Angela or anyone who fit that description worked there. So, who was this mystery caregiver that helped him get through the night? Possibly his guardian angel. In our 8th spot, we have the accidents. A woman named Jackie B is convinced that her guardian angel has come to her rescue on 2 specific occasions. The first occasion took place when she was out sledding with her family. At one point, she got on her sled and headed down the steepest part of the hill, but she ended up hitting someone on the way down and began to spin out of control. She was headed right into a big metal guardrail. Then all of a sudden she felt something push her chest down, and this saved her. Had she not ducked down, she would have had her nose sliced off completely. Her next experience took place during her birthday celebration at school when she was younger. She was playing with her friends when she tripped and fell. She was headed right towards a bench where she would have smacked her face badly, but something grabbed her mid-air and pulled her back. Apparently, teachers said that they saw her fly forward and then suddenly fly back. All of them believed that this was her guardian angel looking after her. Thanks to her angel, she has escaped serious injuries multiple times. Coming in at number 7, we have the close call. Back in 2000, a woman named Martha was walking home from work at night. She lived a 10-minute walk from work. However, it had been raining all day, and then at night it got really cold, so the road froze and was very slippery. While she was walking home, a car hit a bad ice patch and started to spin out of control. It was headed right towards her, but she felt someone push her out of the way. When she opened her eyes, she was about 5 meters from the car that had crashed into a cement pole. Had she not been pushed out of the way, she would have been struck and killed by the oncoming car. Since no one else was around to push her, she believes it was her guardian angel. Moving on to number 6, we have the angel nurse. This story comes from Reddit user D Baylor Baby. Back in 1994, she was sent to the hospital after having a grapefruit-sized tumor in her uterus. Ouch. Thankfully, she got surgery and it was removed successfully. But afterwards, she was in horrific pain. On top of that, she had an allergic reaction to the morphine that she was given. So on top of it all, she had a very bad drug reaction. That night, she woke up in the middle of the night to someone at her bedside. It was a young nurse, and she had been reading the Bible to her. When the patient asked who she was, she said, and I quote, "I was sent here to make sure you'd be all right. You're going to be fine. Now you should get some rest and go back to sleep." She then continued on to read to her until she fell back to sleep. The next morning, she reached out to her doctor and thanked him for the nurse that visited her. The doctor said that no staff had been there overnight. He even asked around to the nurses, and none of them recall anyone visiting her. So she's convinced that that woman was her guardian angel. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the near crash. One night, this guy and his friend were out driving when his car stalled at a traffic light. He tried to restart the car, but they couldn't get it going. So they jumped out and started to push the car to a nearby gas station. Another man saw what was happening and offered to help. 3 men pushed the car all the way to the gas station. And it's a good thing that that mystery man came to help. As soon as they got to the gas station, a car came speeding around the corner and blew through the intersection. Had that guy not shown up, they would have been hit by that car. They turned around to thank the mystery man, but he had disappeared without a trace. So that might have been one of the men's guardian angel. Coming in at number 4, we have the Intruder. This story was shared by a man whose grandmother escaped a very terrifying situation. So the grandmother was home alone when she heard someone knocking on her door. She opened a door and a man was standing there with a knife. He had plans to kill her and then rob her place. But when he saw her, he turned pale and ran away. Later that day, the police caught him and arrested him. When asked why he ran away, he said, and I quote, "When the door opened, I saw 2 large and strong men standing behind her." Now, the grandma was home alone. There weren't any big men in her house. So, looks like Grandma has some pretty intimidating guardian angels. Moving on to number 3, we have the deadly accident. When this woman was young, she got in a very bad car accident. Her Jeep had rolled over, but mid-roll, she felt someone lift her out of her Jeep. She then floated above the Jeep as it continued to roll over. When the car stopped, she was placed feet first on the ground beside her Jeep. That night, she realized that she had bruises on her arms, and the bruises were in the shape of handprints. Other than that, she was left unharmed from the accident. I mean, how else can you explain that besides a guardian angel? Unless the woman has some like secret powers she never knew about. In our second spot, we have the creature in the cloak. This story was posted by a man named Steven, and he talked about his near-death experience back in 2015. So there was a really bad thunderstorm one night, and that was keeping him up. The rain was coming down like crazy, and the wind was intense. All of a sudden, he heard the tree outside his window snap. And next thing he knew, it had crashed through the window into his room. The trunk stopped inches away from him. Had it not, he would have been pierced to death by the tree. When this happened, he got up and looked outside the window. That's when he saw a tall, dark figure in a cloak standing beside the fallen tree. The figure began to wave at him. Stephen turned away for a second and looked back, and the figure was gone. Either that was his guardian angel or a demon sending him a warning sign. So, one or the other. And in our number one spot, we have the rock climbing disaster. Reed Keeper shared the story of the time he almost died while rock climbing. When he was younger, he was out free climbing a 30-foot cliff. He was halfway up when his left hand lost grip and he started to fall. But as he was falling to his death, he felt a hand press against his back, and it pushed him right back against the rock wall. Had this not happened, he would have fell to death for sure. Now, there's no logic behind what happened. Like, how can you go from falling and then all of a sudden being like, oh, I'm fine, I'm back on the wall? It just doesn't add up. So it seems like this was his guardian angel looking out for him.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Angel of Death, wrong placement. Also known as the Grim Reaper, the Angel of Death is the dude who will come visit you as you're passing on to the other side. A guide who will tell you where you are headed and where you're going to spend the rest of existence. Now, sometimes this is good and sometimes this is bad, but there have been stories of the Angel of Death screwing up his job by either taking the wrong person to hell or taking the wrong person to heaven. I can't really think of a bigger crime than taking a serial killer and walking him right into the pearly gates. That might be one of the worst cosmic crimes you can possibly commit. Coming in at number 9, we have Destroying the Universe, Bartleby Dogma. Leave it to Kevin Smith to come up with a movie that blends the world of supernatural with the world of comedy so perfectly. And leave it to Kevin Smith to put Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in a movie together. Those two might have never made it in Hollywood without Kevin Smith's help. But the movie Dogma starts with two angels as they have been kicked out of heaven, and now they are tasked with finding a way to sneak back into heaven. They manage to work something out, but in this process they also learn that if they go through with their plan, they will be walking back into the Holy Realm, and that will prove that God is wrong and possibly cause the end of existence. And Bartleby decides to go through with the plan anyways, which is probably the rudest thing you could ever do. Coming in at number 8, we have vandalism. A lady online who calls herself Shelly said she had an encounter with angels that was very unfortunate. Turns out angels will sometimes take offense to the way you decorate your home, and they will trash the place. She claimed that she had purchased a large picture of the Mother Mary and put it up in her living room, and not even a week later, she was visited by two angels. This was in a dream, and the two angels looked like glowing beings of light that came to her with a message. They told her that the picture needed to be taken down immediately. She woke up from this dream in shock, but at the same time she figured it was probably just a dream. I mean, you don't actually see angels. Well, she didn't take the picture down, and I guess Shelly should have listened because she came home from work one day. She found that her whole living room, including the picture of Mother Mary, had been ripped to shreds. Now, this could have been someone breaking into her place to take everything from her, or it could have been a wild animal that snuck in through the window. You could answer yes to both of these, but Shelly was convinced that this was angels that came in and vandalized her home. Coming in at number 7, we have murder. Having an angel come visit you after you die is probably the best thing that can happen. You immediately get the message that you're going up to the pearly gates. But what if an angel came down to you before you were dead? Well, that could be cool unless it went like this. A Redditor wrote about seeing an angel in real life. He was just sitting on his porch on a nice summer evening, and there was a man walking down the road. Out of nowhere, he saw a bright light coming down from the sky. It looked like a shooting star. Well, that came down to this man walking in the street and enveloped him. It was too bright to see what was happening, but then the light shot up into the sky and the man was laying on the ground dead. He said it looked as if an angel came down and killed this man. Is that what happened? I have no clue. It could have been aliens, it could have been an angel, it could have been a spontaneous combustion, who knows? Coming in at number 6, we have more murder from Zara in Spawn. Spawn comics are home to some of the most evil angels you will ever encounter, and it should be no surprise that there is one more evil than all the rest. Zara is what happens when God God makes a nuclear bomb. She's a being that has so much power that the only time she gets to walk through reality freely is when God wants a job done right. The big man upstairs will unleash his creation on the universe to take down his enemies, and she will do it swiftly and usually without anyone standing in her way. If you are dumb enough to try and get in her way, she will turn you into dust faster than Joey Chestnut eats an Oscar Mayer wiener.
By Nathan Handwerker, who had immigrated to the United States with his family just 4 years prior, selling hot dogs for a nickel.
Coming in at number 5, we have Treason, Manny from Constantine. I'm just giving everyone a heads up here that there are some spoilers for the TV show Constantine coming up in just a second. I don't think that's going to affect a lot of people, but I just wanted to be nice. Well, in the show, there is an angel named Manny who seems to be a good guy working with the heavens and Constantine. Well, it turns out that the whole time he's been working with the darkness and he's actually evil. I can't think of a more treasonous act than working with God, but actually working with the devil. Coming in at number 4, we have killing people and babies, the angels of the 10th realm, Marvel. If you're going to be the god of thunder, then your enemies are going to have some pretty hefty weight to them. So how about a whole realm of angels who are hell-bent on ripping down life as we know it? These angels see themselves as better than pretty much everyone, and they want to go on a mission to cleanse all life that they see unfit. Like, dude, just let people live. Why are people always trying to push their way of life on people? Like, if you want to sit in the basement and eat Doritos and play video games while you make money off of feet pics, that is your choice and you should be able to do that. In fact, that sounds like the perfect self-sustained ecosystem that doesn't require you to leave your home if you have enough Doritos. Basically, a paradise. Also, these angels have no discrepancy on how young they will murder, so there's that. Coming at number 3, we have killing people and babies again, Gabriel Legion. What would humanity do if God sent down his angels to kill us all? Well, we would probably nuke him. I don't know if that would work, but I think that's what we would do really fast. We would nuke him right away. But in the movie Legion, we get a look at what God's holy wrath might look like, and it all comes from the hands of Gabriel, one of the archangels who comes down to earth to kill a baby. Why does he want to kill this baby? Well, because apparently this baby is going to save mankind, but God doesn't want that to happen for some strange reason, so Gabriel has to try and murder a kid and kills a bunch of other people along the way. So murder and attempted murder are pretty big crimes if you ask me. Coming in at number 2, we have Original Sin. Now, this isn't the name of my new heavy metal band. The Original Sin was probably the worst crime that an angel has ever committed. I mean, the angel didn't do it outright, but he did do everything to make it happen. For those of you who are like me and don't know much about religion, let me give you a quick breakdown. Before Satan was the overlord of hell, he was an angel, and honestly, I didn't know that until like last year. That's why some people call him Lucifer, because that's his angel name. Well, Lucifer was the hottest angel. Everyone kept telling him this, and I mean, he could see it. He would look in the mirror and be like, God damn, I am hot. All you peasants need to get in line. In fact, I am so hot, I'm even hotter than God, and I should be the boss around here, and he went against God. That didn't work out and he got casted down to earth to be in hell. The dude got a little too cocky, but it turns out that Lucifer is also petty and he wasn't going to let getting kicked out of heaven stop him from ruining God's plan. So he turned himself into a snake and went into the Garden of Eden and convinced Eve to eat the apple. Very rude dude, man. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have starting a war with God. Well, it should be no surprise that the top 2 points about angels committing crimes were both Lucifer. So I kind of glossed over this in my last point, but Lucifer wanted to be more important than God. He wanted to be the new God in heaven. And he knew he couldn't do this on his own, so he got together a huge crew. He convinced a third of the angels in heaven that he should be their new king. That God wasn't even that hot and his parties are lame because no one's allowed to drink. And a third of the angels there were like, yeah dude, we're on board, and they all teamed up to take on the rest of heaven. But God was protected by Michael. Lucifer and Michael scrapped it out and Lucifer turned into a dragon. Yo, I didn't even know this kind of stuff was going on in the Bible. Well, as we know, Lucifer lost this fight, but I think trying to kill God is a pretty big crime. Alright guys, that has been the list and now I'm going to answer some questions. Skylar Oscar Garcia wrote in and asked, if you could live in any book, what book would you live in? And that's a great question for the wrong person. I've been trying to read more books recently because I've read so few books in the past, but the vast majority of the books I've read are non-fiction, so all of that is just real life. And the few fiction books that I've read are more horror and suspense, so I wouldn't really want to live in those books. Maybe I would pick like Harry Potter because that seems cool and I can't think of a better answer, or a comic book if I get superpowers. Rats Rule fan page wrote in and asked, how do you not get scared when you're reading off these lists? Well, for the most part, hosts write the script so you know what's coming. When I have to do a list about like serial killers or something that's very real, that stuff usually freaks me out as I'm writing the list because you're reading and writing about things that actually happened. And finally, Caitlin Drury wrote in and asked, who is your favorite horror movie antagonist? And the answer is probably Michael Myers. Just because he has no powers, he's big, strong, and crazy, and that's all it takes for him to go on a murder spree and be one of the most iconic horror movie villains of all time.